Hi, it's Daryl again. Today my video is going to be about road user charges. Yesterday I made a survey on Facebook and asked people about what they would be prepared to pay for road user charges in New Zealand. The reason why this is relevant is because currently all the electric cars in New Zealand don't pay road user charges. For petrol cars, road user charges are collected in the petrol that's sold, so there's sort of an additional tax on petrol, and when you buy your petrol you pay your road user charges. So it means that if you have an inefficient car, say you've got a big old V8 and it uses a lot of fuel but doesn't go that far per tank of petrol, then you'll pay a lot for your road user charges. Also, if you've got a larger, heavier vehicle, then you'll pay more because you just use more petrol. If you've got a lightweight and efficient car, say you've got a tiny little hybrid car or just a tiny little petrol engine car, then you'll pay far less for your road user charges. And this is proportional to the amount of wear that you actually put on the road. Heavy vehicles do a lot of wear on the road and lightweight vehicles don't really. So then further, if you have a diesel vehicle, we currently have a thing called road user charges, which kind of a tax is collected. You have to go in and buy your road user charges in advance. I think normally they're sold in about 10,000 kilometre lots. So you kind of work out how far you're going to drive every year, and you buy these little certificates that go on the front window screen of your car. If you get pulled over by the police, they might check your road user charges, and if you haven't, if your odometer reading is not within the range that you've paid for, then you'll get a fine. So, road user charges for diesel vehicles are much higher for heavy vehicles. So if you've got a bus or a huge truck or a multi-trailer rig, then you're going to pay a lot more for road user charges, which makes sense because, again, heavier vehicles do more wear to the road and cost more to run. In any case, the actual legislation says petrol driven and non-petrol driven vehicles. So electric cars that are purely electric are non-petrol driven cars, and so they have to have road user charges under law, but currently there's an exemption, and I forget when the exemption would run out. I think it's either a year 2021 or it's a certain number of registered electric vehicles. So when we get whatever the golden number is, 20,000 cars or past that date, then people will have to start paying their road user charges. Herein lies the problem. The road user charges are kind of expensive. At least they're expensive when compared to the electricity that you might use to run your car. So typically a lot of people pay around $3 to recharge their car to go 100 kilometres, but the equivalent road user charge would be currently, if you charged it like the lightest weight diesel category of vehicles, be $6.20 per 100 kilometres. So it brings your running costs up to $9.20 per 100 kilometres, give or take. And also the rates can change as well. So when I set up the survey on Facebook, what I was trying to do was work out what people thought of different quantities for the charges for road user charges. Personally I think that some electric vehicles should have a special category. They should be charged less than the regular diesel vehicles, but perhaps if you've got a heavier electric vehicle, then it would be charged at perhaps the same rate as the equivalent weight diesel vehicle. But then again, maybe road user charges are kind of a proxy. Maybe they're meant to take into consideration pollution as well, and if that's the case, because most electricity in New Zealand is generated from renewable energy, from windmills and geothermal and hydroelectric power, not very much from coal and gas, then it would be good that there would be a special charge for, a special discount price for electric vehicles. So In my survey, I'll just read the question out that I actually placed and some of the answers that I proposed. I said, so I'm going to read this off the screen to the side. So here we go. The diesel light vehicle road user charge is $62 per 1,000 kilometres for vehicles up to 3,500 kilograms. When the exemption for RUC for EVs ends, will you be happy to pay the same for your EV, or do you think there should be a different amount? What is fair in your opinion? I wanted to know what people's opinions were. Remember, it has to fund the road network, so choose fairly and wisely. So I pre-wrote some answers to the survey, and so people could just choose. You could actually tick multiple boxes, and I'm not sure that everybody knew that. The survey's still ongoing at the moment, so maybe if you want to have a look at it, you can tick multiple boxes. Any case, the most popular category had quite a lot of respondents. 108 people said that there should be a discount rate for lighter cars. So I put a sub 2,000 kilogram category, which would include the Leaf, the Zoe, and the Tesla Model 3. But it probably wouldn't include the Tesla Model S. I think most Tesla Model S's are above 2,000 kilograms, and the Model X's I think are a little bit heavier again. 15 people, so this is like around 1/8 of the number of people, said that they would be happy to pay $62 per 1,000 kilometres, keep it matched with diesel, and then 11 people thought that there should be a discount rate for lighter weight cars less than 1,500 kilograms, which would include the MyEV, the i3, and the Ioniq. This sort of category is quite lightweight, because as far as I know, these are the lightest electric cars that you can buy. They still seem, moderately heavy. I have a hybrid car which weighs less than 1,000 kilograms, so I think it's 995 kilograms, somewhere around there. But different vehicles have different weights, and then I put a whole bunch of ranges, so each $10 increment from $10 up to $70, and got people to choose those. So a lot of people indicated, so four people indicated $30 to $40 per 100 kilometres, which I think would probably be, just based on no actual research, I think that would be kind of like a good amount. And four people indicated $40 to $50 per 1,000 kilometres as well. And a couple of people, 3 at the moment, said $70 or more because they think that the RUC is underpriced. I put that as an option because I wanted understand that a lot of people understand that all sorts of fossil fuel based activities, including the building of roads and the use of motor vehicles, irrespective of whether they run on diesel or petrol or electricity, some people might feel that these activities are all underpriced. I tend to think that almost all economic activities are underpriced because we don't really pay truly for the externalities, and we don't pay for the future possible uses. So, for example, every limited resource we use now is a limited resource that nobody in any future generation can use as well. If we use that resource and it's non-renewable or non-recyclable, then you exclude every possible future use. And I could imagine that could be a lot of really good possible future uses for a lot of technology, or a lot of materials, depending on technology. So, it might be that, say there's a limited amount of titanium, and we make a lot of things out of titanium, and then we throw them away, and it's hard to recover all that titanium. And then we discover that the best possible future use of titanium is building spaceships so that we can go to other planets, sometime in the future. Maybe even people in hundreds or thousands of years' time. They'll be like, we could have had so many spaceships, but unfortunately people used up all of the titanium, and now they can't do that. So I think this is the case with coal. I think that in the future it might be really good to reform coal into some kind of plastics or carbon fibre, carbon fibre nanotubes. Maybe we can weave carbon fibre nanotube buildings by reforming coal. If we've burned all the coal, then people won't be able to do that very easily in the future. So yeah, that's a bit of a riff on future pricing. And then let's click this again because something updated strangely. Oh yeah, and very few people thought that it should be any other price, 20 to 30 or 10 to 20 or 50 to 60 or 60 to 70. So people seem to be like same as diesel or about half the amount of as diesel. Of course, a lot of electric cars are much lower weight than the top, the top of the range for the diesel. So the diesel pricing is every diesel vehicle under 3.5 tons. There's plenty of electric cars are only about half that weight. So I think the most popular car, Nissan Leaf, I think they're only most popular electric car in New Zealand, the Nissan Leaf. There's thousands of them here. I think they weigh in I think somewhere around less than 2 tons. 1,600. It's sort of about half the weight of the 3,500 kilogram level. Anyway, so some people put comments as well. So I can say something about the comments. I could read through a few of them and tell you what they said. Someone asked, why is there no option for zero ruck? Well, because we have to pay for roads. So I think that's the case. In addition to the supply from petrol, should be restricted in accordance with emission reduction targets. Focusing only on the demand side is not working here or overseas. Okay, so Robert is saying that we need to adjust the price of petrol as well. So Igor says the road user charges can also be there to encourage electrification, as they do in Norway. Zero rucks over for EVs. My vote is for zero rucks for EVs. The road costs can be made up by slowly increasing taxes on petrol as more and more become electrified. So this is an interesting idea. So maybe what they could do is actually just keep charging all of the costs of roads to people who drive petrol. Although I think you'll eventually get to a point where you'll have an inversion. When half of the vehicle use is attributed to electric vehicles and they have to pay effectively twice as much for using them as electric cars use, is that actually fair? I mean, personally, I think that the problem with electric vehicles is we'll get to a point where there will be a diminishing value in petrol vehicles, and all of the petrol vehicles will become very worthless very quickly. So you get this problem where environmental changes or supply for petrol gets diminished to a point where now the costs of producing and retailing petrol has become so high that suddenly all petrol vehicles become completely worthless, because you won't be able to easily buy fuel, and you won't be able to buy fuel at a reasonable price, and so we'll end up with this problem where all of the existing petrol vehicles or diesel vehicles all sort of get dumped simultaneously, because doesn't matter if you can pick up the car for free. If it costs $20 per litre for fuel, then nobody would want to drive it in any case, unless it was a totally awesome car like a Ferrari or a V8 or something, and you're just driving it for the pure sheer joy of driving that vehicle. But there aren't that many vehicles that actually fit into that category. For most people, cars are just utilitarian transport. So Alan says that I think that the road user charging system needs a complete overhaul. Well, I think that's kind of the case. He says there should be a sliding scale of charges based on weight and damage to the roads, that sort of thing. Robin McCandless has replied to this. Robin McCandless is, as far as I understand, is a Green Party MP. I met him at a electric car charger when I was on holiday. Can't remember when it was, just before the election, I guess, last year. I presumed he is in the government now. There's quite a lot of Green MPs in the government at the moment with our kind of multi-coalition government. He says there is already a sliding scale. Yeah, okay, there is. That's certainly the case for larger vehicles like trucks. He's saying that it should be split out into a pollution tax, the cost of carbon and the fuel, and the road use and pollution clearly costing using different mechanisms with no conflation or confusion. Yeah, he says remove the road tax from petrol and replace it with a pollution tax. He says ring fenced for projects that reduce transport emissions. I don't really agree that just because something is funded from somewhere, it should necessarily be spent on that thing. I can't think of a good example of why that is actually not the greatest idea. We know that cigarette smoking is bad, and taxes from cigarette smoking should be used to pay for people's medical treatments. But I think that if you've got lung cancer and they're like, oh, actually we've spent all of the money out of the cigarette smoking tax fund, therefore you can't have any treatment for your lung cancer because you were a smoker. It's unkind, that's why. So it's sort of not logically, I don't think it's logically connected. You can take a tax on something that's bad and then use it to pay for something else. I don't have any problem with that. I don't think you have to ring fence taxes. Karina says, I think there should be a cheaper rate for full EV cars, simply to help encourage the uptake. Even if the initial 72,000 cars is reached, that must be the limit that I mentioned earlier. After all, we're saying that all those carbon emissions, eventually we should be paying the same rate. And then it's not fair for plug-in hybrid electric vehicle owners who may still be using next to no petrol. For those PHEV, there's very limited battery only range, will still have 3/4 of the consumptions of the ICE they replace. Right, so one of the funny exemptions at the moment is, my understanding is that vehicles that are plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, or cars that can run in fully electric mode or in petrol hybrid mode, they're treated as petrol cars as far as I know. So if you've got a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, it's just registered as if it's a petrol powered car. Even if you plug it in every day and only drive a short distance, only ever run it in electric mode, it's still taxed as if it's a petrol car. That's my understanding. So I think there should be, there'll need to be something a little bit odd with that. Maybe they can work out. Maybe they can work out what your personal use is, and then have some crazy road tax hybrid model. I don't know. It's going to be tricky. Yeah, right. So Megan just says, yeah, at the moment, just enjoy the free ride by not paying road user charges for your electric car, but we will have to pay for it at some stage. Remember, we do have underfunded schools and health systems. We don't need more of a handout. So there's some point where Megan thinks that money that we pay for road user charges for our electric vehicles could be used to pay for other social services such as schools and health. So I think that's a good idea. Fran says, I was thinking it should be at least the bottom end, 1 cent per kilometre per 500 kilogram mass, i.e. 3,000 kilometres would be 6 cents, like now, and a motorbike would be 1 cent, a leaf would be 3 to 4 cents per kilometre approximately. I haven't sat down and worked it out, it'd be better or worse. This friend's saying that their current tax on petrol might be 50-ish cents per litre. I should actually check that out, what the actual price is for petrol. I have seen the petrol sort of taxation breakdown. Petrol has got a lot of funny, weird taxes in it because it, just the way it's come to be, it's one of those things that I think successive governments have made little tweaks to, so the taxing of petrol is odd. In New Zealand, diesel and petrol cost radically different amounts. I think at the moment petrol's say around $2 per litre, but diesel is about $1.50 per litre because it doesn't have the tax directly built in to diesel. That's because the diesel vehicles are charged separately, but also you might buy diesel and not even use it in a vehicle at all. You can buy diesel and use it in a generator, so it doesn't cause road wear. Peter says that if we just went back to the equivalent 6.2 cents per kilometre tax, which is the $62 for 1,000 kilometres, then a lot of electric vehicle uptake would be seriously curtailed, because one of the great advantages of owning an electric vehicle at the moment is the super cheap running cost. You know, they cost about $0.25 per kilometre to power it when you're buying your electricity compared with buying petrol. So you know, that's one of those things. Personally, I think that petrol will ramp up in price quite a lot over the next few years, and when petrol does increase, then electric cars, even if they were being taxed at, you know, that extra, if they were being charged at the ruck, you know, people would definitely just buy the electric cars in any case. So if petrol got up to $4 per litre, so we're talking New Zealand dollars, so at the moment petrol's about $2, maybe it's $2.20, which would be equivalent to about $1.30 US for a litre, or what do they buy it? They buy it in the gallons, so just rough maths, that's something like about $5 per gallon. No, I don't know, $4 per gallon, somewhere around there. Quite a lot per gallon. Yeah, maybe $5 or $6 per gallon. Petrol is seriously much more expensive in New Zealand than it is in the United States. But I guess it's comparable to the cost of petrol in Europe. So some people are saying that if they paid for the ruck in any case, Fran said, I would have saved $1,039 over 6 months and driving 9,026 kilometres. So it looks like Fran drives about 20,000 k's per year, and so, you know, they would have to pay for some ruck, but they're still saying it's better economically. I mean, this is the case that there are some people in New Zealand who, in my opinion, seem kind of a little bit, I'm not sure about the economics of this. They still have diesel cars, so you buy those lightweight Euro diesel cars, like just a little city car. You have to pay the tax separately, the road user tax, and I kind of think that a lot of people who buy those cars would probably be better off to own a hybrid if they were just looking for the financial savings. What else? I don't know, this video is getting really long now, so hopefully this isn't too boring. Yeah, another person asking about plug-in hybrids. Steve says maybe a new carbon tax for internal combustion engine vehicles. Megan says a simple system is best. Having a lot of exceptions and categories makes loopholes to be exploited. Yeah, that's very, very cool. Tim says that there should be just large discounts for full EVs. I wonder if Tim means on buying the car for the environment. Oh yeah, here Tim points out something that I think is a good point. You know, petrol is a conflict resource. It comes from wars. So, you know, I don't know however you think about it, but the way I think about it is that petrol is a conflict resource. Some countries are sort of manipulating other countries, you know, either by war or by politics, and I think that people should see petrol as a conflict resource, just like you wouldn't buy diamonds that, you know, are mined, you know, really unethically, or you don't want to drink coffee that's been grown unethically. You shouldn't want to use petrol or have the market for your petrol come from an unethical market. So I think, of course, the petrol market is unethical, because even in countries where they're not having political problems or whatever, that's still causing it's still causing a lot of pollution. So I think that's unethical in any case. Problematic ethics. All right. So Raymond says that yeah, I'm happy to pay my part for the upkeep of the roads and repairs, but definitely not to the extent in the same category as heavy trucks or monster 4x4s, you know. So yeah, that's a good point. Renati asks, but what about hybrids? And there's some people having a discussion about hybrids get a good deal at the moment because hybrids use so little fuel. They're really getting a discount on their road taxes because, you know, if a hybrid car uses half as much petrol, or a plug-in hybrid uses quarter as much petrol as a regular car, then for their weight, hybrids are kind of heavy for their size in some cases, and so they might do a lot of road wear, but they pay very low for it. Yeah, but you know, overall, I don't really think that there are that many hybrid cars. You know, there's, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if we get to a time where electric cars will quickly pass hybrid cars. I mean, of course, plug-in hybrids might bring that up quite a lot too. Sigrid says we should all pay the same for RUC irrespective of fuel. It pays for the roads, but the fuel cars should pay a new pollution tax. Yeah, that's right. Pay for the health or EV projects and skew buying behaviour in favour of clean vehicles. Yeah, that's exactly right. The thing is that if a lot of what is taxes for petrol or diesel is to do with pollution, you know, and then electric cars aren't making that pollution, then electric cars shouldn't be having to pay for the pollution component of the road user charge. Yeah. Erwin says, wait until we have 10% EVs, you know, like maybe he's pointing out that the economics of the road user charges are a bit broken. A couple of people comment on a few things. I don't know what they're talking about, so I'm just skipping over those ones. Can't say something smart about it, I won't say anything. Yeah. Oh yeah, Tom points out the physics of it, that road wear is proportional to axle weight to the power of 4. A truck with 3 times my car's axle weight travelling the same distance does 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 equals 81 times the damage. Yeah, that's the case. So that's why I think that it makes sense for there to be if you're just going to have if you're just going to continue on charging RUC, I think they need to make a RUC value for a lighter weight electric car. So if you go the sub 2 tonne cars have a RUC that's half the price of a over 2 tonne car, you know, the 2 tonnes to 3.5 tonne, then that seems a bit more fair, although it's just a, you know, an arbitrary cut. You know, the weights of makes and models of cars are well known, so why can't the RUC be completely dynamic just based on the weight of your car and how many kilometres you drive? That would make the most sense to me. Like, it didn't take me much effort to Google search the masses, you know, of a few cars, and then, you know, for doing my categorization. So it's not that hard. Somebody somewhere in the world must have made a database of most common vehicles and what their weights are. Wouldn't surprise me if the computers that are doing the registration database in New Zealand already have that information in it. Wouldn't surprise me if it was already there. I know, now somebody's asking, can I have an explanation of that physics? Yep, a lot of discussion about the road wear. Okay, anyway, I've gone through that whole thing. Anyway, thanks for watching. That was a long and talky video, so I hope you enjoy it. You know, maybe I could make some more videos by asking people what I think are smart kind of questions and see what their responses are. So again, thanks for watching. I'd really like you to subscribe. That would be really handy for my pocket money. I want to try to get to 1,000 subscribers maybe by the end of the year. I think that would be really awesome. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you another time. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments, or ask me to ask another question for other people. Thanks.